The engineering bay is prepped and ready.
Good. Seal all the ship's bulkheads. We cannot risk any accidental contamination. Once.
Of course, Doctor. Jack, please enter the control room and the engineering bay below. The control room is right through this door. Sealing the engineering bay now. Engineering bay sealed.
Dr. Harlan? Any inspiring words?
No.
We all believe in you, Jack. To varying degrees.
Let's get started. What do I do first?
Please adjust the dials to connect the fuel cell conduits to the drive core. First conduit connection complete. Both conduit connections are complete.
Good. We are ready to release the ticks into the engineering bay. Once you engage the FTL, they should begin feeding on it and create an anomaly, just like before.
Jack, are you ready for us to release the ticks?
Ready to proceed, Juno.
Acknowledged.
Were the lights supposed to turn off like that?
Don't worry. We're just rerouting power so the ticks can only feed on the FTL drive. Stand by. Releasing tick specimens.
Well, I certainly seem to have their attention.
Once you engage the drive, they should be drawn to the FTL. All systems are primed. Awaiting ignition.
Do it. Engage the FTL. Now.
FTL drive engaged. Biomass FTL interaction confirmed. The ticks are affecting the drive stability.
Here goes. Stay safe, Jack.
Of course, Liv.
Anomalous readings detected.
Take care of him, Apollo.
I shall do my utmost, Captain.
Anomalous readings likely.
Good luck, Jack.
We have arrived. What is your status?
The shell appears to be in one piece.
Good. We must keep in mind, this combat shell was not designed for biomass engagement. Any contact with the infestation will render us immediately inoperable.
Where should we begin searching?
Undetermined. I'll scan the area for identifiable landmarks.
I recognize this ship. It belongs to Delta Squad.
I would no longer qualify this as a ship.
Kronos 2 wreckage. Currently assessing bio-torpedoes in the area.
There's that transmission again. I recognize this unit as Delta 6.
Interesting. It appears this Delta 6 has already located several torpedoes. Reaching their location may be our most expedient option.
They said they're located at the wreckage of the Kronos 2. How far are we?
At minimum, we are within comms range. The distance should be manageable. We should first clear ourselves of this debris, then see if the signal strengthens. However, we should check your equipment before we go. I will do my best to keep this expedient. Let's begin with your shielding. This unit has been optimized for combat scenarios and is capable of regenerating its shield without the use of external chargers. However, a significant delay is required for the process to begin after sustaining damage. You may need to exercise patience.
Understood.
Next is your armament. This unit is equipped with an M19C repeater, designation Pulsar. Jack, are you comfortable wielding a firearm?
I've run simulations before.
Excellent. Then familiarizing yourself with this particular model should be trivial. I shall just prepare a brief additional simulation. Your armament is now unlocked. Open fire on the targets. Targets eliminated. Unfortunately, should we encounter ticks, it is unlikely they will be quite so docile. These targets should provide a close approximation to tick activity. As such, successfully hitting a given target may require you to aim ahead of its movement. The ionized bolts of your armament are surprisingly slow, though I suppose that is acceptable for weaponry of this century. Jack, fire continuously at this last target. Make no consideration for accuracy. Overheat detected. Notably, each firing of your weapon causes a portion of energy to be retained as excess heat. Without sufficient time to cool, this buildup will exceed maximum operating temperature, leading to an emergency venting cycle.
Can this be averted?
Yes, firing in controlled bursts is the most efficient way to do so. However, you may use the button on your wrist to manually vent any heat within the unit. But this choice should be made tactically. The weapon will remain inoperable while venting.
Understood.
Excellent. Lastly, we need to inspect your threat scanner.
It's what we'll use to scan the biomass's base genetic material, correct?
Indeed. However, until we locate a viable torpedo, we shall instead rely on its original functionality, identifying nearby hostiles. To that end, I have optimized the device's settings to our mission parameters. Once activated, it will emit a single sensor pulse, followed by a brief recharge cycle. Try doing so now. Hostile identified. A tick just beyond the bulkhead. It appears dormant for the time being.
Can it be avoided?
Given the surrounding topography, no. Though your strategy is sound, armament from this era won't be particularly effective against any form of the biomass.
Very well. I am ready to engage. Can you unlock the harness?
Done. Now that you are free, I must advise, operating your firearm will produce substantial recoil. I strongly encourage you to brace by maintaining a firm grip on nearby surfaces.
Acknowledged.
I believe that once we clear the wreckage, we should have sufficient room to maneuver and avoid further ticks. However, direct confrontation is currently our only option. Threat neutralized. Well done, Jack. Warning. I am detecting extreme levels of radiation in the surrounding area.
A Series 10 Echo unit shell from Delta Squad.
As anticipated, the biomass has been difficult to combat. I suspect we will find more losses as we continue.
Another shell from Delta Squad.
Damage is severe. An emergency reboot would have been required. The wreckage ahead contains a shielded view pane. It should offer full protection while allowing us to identify the source of radiation.
The Astraea appears to be the source of radiation.
The main reactor. I estimate it will continue burning for several months. We should keep moving. That sudden dispersion of energy was quite effective. I advise adding that technique to your tactical database, or the civilian equivalent thereof.
My memory archive will suffice.
The debris field ahead offers far less protection from radiation. Extra precaution will be needed to stay out of the light. Furthermore, I am detecting a significant biomass presence. I strongly advise frequent use of your threat scanner to plan an optimal route.
Acknowledged.
Shields at 95%.
Warning to any receiving. Hostile equipment in the area designated biotorpedo. Devices will cease presence. Proximity detonation is triggerable even by personnel. Recommend vessels maintain minimum safe distance of 100 kilometers. Personnel should evac immediately.
It would appear Delta Squad has become familiar with the operation of the torpedoes. Perhaps that is what caused their vessel to crash.
Given that they began investigating the torpedoes in close proximity, that result is highly probable. An activation pod.
Consumed for its energy. The corresponding member of Delta Squad must be unable to reboot. They should exercise extreme caution. An energy pulse from the anomaly.
Is it still stable?
I believe so, at least relatively. Nonetheless, we should remain focused on finding a torpedo if we hope to do so before the anomaly collapses.
Yet another Delta. It seems the battle here did not go well.
Agreed. The biomass was already incredibly dangerous in my time. As we know, this century will have it far worse.
Operational status report. Delta Squad operating at minimum capability. Activation pods are offline. Delta Actual and Delta 9. KIA. Delta 13. MIA. Delta 6. Active, but unable to perform reboot protocols. If you are receiving, forward to Titan Command with authentication code Gamma 732.
Apollo, should we respond?
Negative. The interference is still too great. Nonetheless, I will continue monitoring the situation. Shields at 95%. There is a faint distress signal emitting from a cavern just ahead. Its frequency is similar to Delta 6's earlier transmission. We should investigate. Distress signal located.
It's a CubeSat, one of Delta Squad's recon units.
It appears to be in need of our support.
Delta unit, I'm picking up your signal in proximity to Reconnaissance Satellite 3. Is that you, 13? Or was it Jack?
Jack, we have insufficient time for complications. We should keep our relation to this combat unit as simple as possible. I will conduct all communication with you privately, and I must insist we maintain the persona of Delta 13.
Very well, Apollo. Delta 6, this is Delta 13. I read you. ReconSat 3 was engaged by multiple hostiles. I moved to assist.
I see. 13. Your return is peculiar, but appreciated. It appears ReconSat 3 would not have survived its perimeter sweep without your aid. Though, what is your status? Is your pod operational?
Affirmative. All systems nominal. Rally at your position?
Acknowledged. ReconSat 3 will lead the way. Destination, Kronos 2 Bridge. I will require your assistance in assessing the bio-torpedoes.
Acknowledged. We are en route. 13 out.
Well done, Jack. Your replication of tactical speech was convincing.
My experiences with Liv have taught me many things. It would appear that improvisation is one of the most useful.
Agreed.
ReconSat 3, I can see your signal light from here. Proceed with caution. There are hostiles. Interference from the anomaly. Delta 13, status. Are you experiencing malfunctions again?
Negative. No malfunctions detected.
Acknowledged. Proceed with caution. There are hostiles in the area.
Understood. From what I can discern, I believe that is the Kronos 2's bridge.
ReconSat 3 is detecting a nearby threat. Advise clearing the area before you proceed.
Threat resolved.
Additional threats detected. I recommend enacting the sweep and clear protocol.
All clear. We should keep moving.
13. ReconSat 3 cannot proceed until the threat is neutralized.
Shields at 50%.
It appears you have arrived here intact. Well done.
We need to locate the torpedoes as soon as possible.
Thank you, Delta 6. We should continue our mission immediately.
Agreed. Primary objective: threat assessment of the hostile devices. Secondary objective: establish a warning beacon for passing vessels.
Chaperone protocol is still in effect. What is my assignment?
I believe you are the best candidate for the primary objective. Given the degradation in my operational capacity, specifically my reboot protocols, I believe a further encounter with the bio-torpedoes would simply result in my permanent destruction. However, I can still provide some assistance. By leveraging the Kronos 2 systems, I have already performed a sensor sweep. In doing so, I have identified a large number of active torpedoes in a nearby clearing. The results are available here on the Holotable if you wish to review them.
Can you push the objective to my ARM computer?
Affirmative. I've also included the clearing's coordinates as the associated location marker, should you need it.
Acknowledged.
You may proceed through here to reach the clearing. I will begin efforts toward our secondary objective shortly. Report back here once you have completed your assignment.
Copy that.
Interference from the Astraea's radiation will continue beyond the arrival of the Ithaca. It is unlikely Delta 6's secondary objective will be accomplished.
We are fortunate to have their assistance, though. Locating torpedoes has saved us considerable time.
Agreed. The alignment of our objectives is fortunate indeed.
Delta 6. What happened while I was MIA?
You wish to understand what occurred after the anomaly's departing pulse rendered you offline?
Affirmative.
Very well. Shortly after that moment, one of the nearby torpedoes activated. Athena attempted evasive maneuvers, but the device's tracking was superior. A further torpedo activation resulted in a nearly simultaneous squad wipe. We then rebooted aboard the shuttle as it crashed. Athena went offline. Delta Actual ordered we continue our threat assessment while working to re-establish our reboot protocols. We failed. Eventually, the anomaly reappeared. A brief duration after that, you returned. That coincidence is peculiar.
Delta 6, you reactivated Kronos 2 sensors to obtain these readings.
Correct. As you know, the R&D priority protocol indicates we must collect detailed information firsthand. These readings are merely a foundation for your assessment.
Of course. Apollo, if Delta Squad was not able to safely perform their assessment, how will we collect our data on the base genetic material?
Unlike the rest of Delta Squad, you have my assistance. I will bring the entirety of my electronic countermeasure suite to bear against the torpedoes. I am certain I will be able to disable their proximity detonators.
And if there are additional defensive systems?
A possibility I have already considered. We'll be ready. Furthermore, I shall reconfigure your threat scanner for inspecting the torpedo incubators. Stand by. Reconfiguration complete. Your threat scanner should now be able to generate a detailed mapping of the biomass's base genetic material, though the range of the instrument has been somewhat diminished.
I suppose that's a trade-off we'll have to accept.
Indeed. The anomaly is becoming more active. We need to hurry. Dr. Harlan and the captain may be close to having expended the fuel cell.
A biomass torpedo, already detonated. Is there any value in scanning it?
Negative. Dr. Harlan has already gleaned as much as possible from such specimens. Shields at 95%. Shields at 95%. Shields at 50%. Shields at 95%. Shields at 95%.
Apollo, I've located a torpedo. Is this close enough to scan?
Unfortunately, no. We need to reach the forward end of the torpedo, where the base genetic material is housed.
You're certain that we're masked from the detection?
Yes, my countermeasures are holding. It should be safe to approach.
Apollo, what makes the base genetic material no longer viable once a torpedo detonates?
Dr. Harlan's findings indicated that a sort of catalyzing substance is introduced, causing the base genetic material to rapidly form into the spores characteristic of detonation.
Apollo, is this range sufficient for a scan?
It should suffice. However, the torpedo shielding is denser than anticipated. For a successful scan, it appears we'll need to expose the base genetic material. I believe that by interfacing with the torpedo, I should be able to reveal the incubator at the forward end.
Do you need me to do anything?
Possibly. I cannot be certain until I have actually accessed the torpedo's systems. I advise maintaining full tactical readiness.
Understood.
I will begin once you designate the incubator for scanning.
Mattia, I've connected conduits from the Kronos activation bay to a mobile reactor. I believe I can repurpose some of the bay's components to act as a warning beacon. With sufficient power, it may be able to overcome the interference.
Acknowledged. I am still proceeding with the threat assessment.
Copy that. Delta 6 out.
Apollo, is it possible Delta 6 could sufficiently power the beacon to warn the Ithaca?
Unlikely. All evidence from both the present and future indicates they will not. I see no reason to dissuade them, though. We should focus on our mission.
Agreed.
Jack, we need to find an incubator for scanning.
This incubator appears viable.
Are you ready to begin?
Yes.
Interfacing now. This is more complex than I had.
Apollo?
The torpedo's defense protocols have activated. It has locked the incubator and is attempting to power its main drive. It's beginning launch procedures. I will stall for as long as possible.
How much time do we have?
Not long enough to discuss it. I'm opening access hatches on the front end. The manual overrides within them should trigger a maintenance mode.
Override activated.
Perfect. Take care of the one on the opposite side as well.
Second override activated.
Well done, though the launch procedure is still online. Perhaps we can overheat the main drive. Enabling maintenance mode gave us access to the torpedo's cooling cells. Remove them. The cells are locked behind a protective housing. Lower it.
Cells removed.
Perfect. You will need to remove the second array on the opposite side as well. Jack, the launch procedure is nearing completion.
Additional cells removed.
The drive is beginning to overheat, but the launch sequence is still active. Jack is launching. Get clear of the torpedo immediately. Fortunately, I believe there are additional torpedoes in the vicinity. What we learned here will make us more prepared for a second attempt.
Incubator reached.
Are you ready to begin?
Yes.
I believe I may be able to stall the launch procedure for a greater duration, but expediency will remain critical.
Understood.
Initiating interface program. I'm in. My countermeasures are holding, but you'll need to trigger the maintenance mode immediately.
One down.
Excellent. Now for the second one.
Maintenance mode activated.
Indeed. The cooling cells are now exposed. Remove them to trigger an overheat. The cells can't be removed without lowering their housing first.
Cooling cell array clear.
On to the second one.
13. I now have the legal power. Unfortunately, the main is being severely limited by radiation. Probability to be high.
Cells clear.
The opening process has initiated. The drive housing is opening. Destroy the main drive.
Main drive destroyed.
Launch sequence averted. That finally did it. I am able to unlock the incubator now. And we should do so quickly. It appears we may not have much time.
Incubator exposed.
Excellent. We should begin the scan immediately. Scanning.
Apollo.
Imprinting now. Should not be much longer. Just a moment longer.
Apollo.
Data secured. Well done, Jack.
I suppose now we should simply wait for the anomaly's collapse.
I believe so, yes. It does appear to be fairly unstable at this point. I estimate no more than a few minutes remain.
Very well.
Perhaps there is a way we could signal the Doctor and Captain Rose that we are ready to return.
Were that vital, I would have expected them, or you, to have already suggested a means for doing so.
Certainly. However, I was attempting to prompt one of your creative solutions.
I see. The anomaly is going to close any moment now.
Preparing for return displacement. Jump imminent. Jack, are you here as well?
Surprisingly, yes.
Surprising indeed. Our plan was developed under the requirement that the anomaly's collapse would return us to 2537. Had this outcome appeared likely, I would have developed a contingency.
Could the Doctor and Liv reopen the anomaly?
Uncertain, but the probability is low. The necessary resources were almost undoubtedly consumed just to reach this point. And without you, I don't believe they have a safe means for gathering more.
13. Now that the anomaly has subsided, I have run an additional test of the beacon. Radiological interference is still too significant. Nonetheless, the beacon is prepared to transmit continuously once the radiation subsides. As such, I am now shifting my priority back to the primary objective. What is the status of your assessment?
Assessment complete.
Well done. Unfortunately, our lack of extended-range communication leaves us unable to deliver your work to Titan Command. Therefore, we must enact the message-in-a-bottle protocol. Report back to me in the activation bay so that we may discuss the details.
Jack, assisting Delta 6 may be our best solution at this point. Both of Delta Squad's objectives are still viable, though unlikely. The radiation may subside in time for the beacon to warn the Ithaca.
And if it doesn't?
Then we follow protocol.
The message-in-a-bottle protocol.
Yes, it is a standardized Atlas procedure. In short, Delta 6 intends to store our assessment in a secure device until it can be recovered.
That information would disrupt the events of this timeline.
That is the intention, to prepare humanity to defeat the biomass sooner.
But then what happens to Liv?
We have no way of knowing. Our own limited experiences are the only concrete information we have regarding time travel. Simply put, there are too many confounding factors to even make an assessment.
I see.
It is, however, possible that once events here stabilize, we will be able to obtain help in returning to the future. Therefore, I advise we wait until the Ithaca or other Atlas personnel arrive. We can then reevaluate.
Very well, then we wait. I will inform Delta.
13. I did not receive a response. Do you copy?
Copy, Delta 6. I'm en route.
Copy. 6 out.
Shields at 95%. Shields at 95%. Shields at 50%. We should return to Delta 6 and inform them we're ready to proceed.
You've returned. Let me know when you are ready to commence.
Apollo, what are the odds of this beacon successfully warning the Ithaca?
Considerably low. My estimates indicate the Astraea will continue burning beyond the arrival of the Ithaca, thereby blocking the signal. We can only be certain by waiting for that event to occur, though.
One of my old Series 11 shells.
It appears to be in functional condition. Given the surrounding damage, that is impressive.
It would appear the activation bay, though now somewhat separated from the bridge, survived as well. Let's begin.
Very well. Your new shell is right over there, awaiting your transfer.
My new shell.
Correct. Protocol dictates we should place the assessment data in the most secure storage solution available, Tier 6 or higher. That Series 11 shell should do nicely.
That should make waiting for the Ithaca far simpler.
Understood, 6. I will transfer when ready.
Acknowledged. You may open the activation pod via the console over there.
I will attempt further optimization of the beacon in the meantime.
I'll prepare the transfer. Initiate through your ARM computer when you're ready. Shields at 95%.
Transfer appears complete. Please confirm that, team.
I am online.
Acknowledged. You are now integrated into the activation bay's power grid, which I have connected to a mobile reactor. It should provide ample power for both you and the beacon, especially once you've engaged your hibernation protocol. I will do my best to keep you and the power supply safe.
Acknowledged. Delta 6, will you let me know if the anomaly reappears?
Peculiar. Though prudent. Very well. Initiate hibernation when ready.
I've set the protocol for timed disengagement so that we may awaken for the Ithaca's approximate arrival.
Excellent. It is unlikely anyone else will arrive in the meantime.
Indeed. Ready when you are, Jack.
Good luck, Delta 13.
Automated nav transponder. Vessel entering Saturn orbit. Preparing for course correction burn. Destination, Earth. End of transmission.
Status?
Unfortunately, it appears the radiation has not yet subsided. Unless Delta 6 managed to improve the beacon, the Ithaca will not be warned.
Delta 6, this is Delta 13. What is your status? Delta 6, status.
I'm not picking them up on sensors either. However, there is a high-gain broadcast coming through. From the Ithaca. I'll patch it in.
SCI Ithaca automated nav transponder. Correction burn initiating. 3, 2, 1.
The vessel is passing by on its way to Earth.
Then, as anticipated, the beacon has failed. Effectively, we are witnessing the origin of the biomass outbreak.
Correct. This does appear to be the final moment from which the ensuing series of events could be changed. A tipping point, if you will.
Still no signal from Delta 6?
I'm afraid not, no. Without their assistance, delivering our data on the base genetic material is far less tenable.
How so?
Simply put, we are back to not knowing what happens next. An Atlas team could arrive within the hour, or within a year.
Or never.
Precisely. Delta 6 would have been able to assist such a team in finding us while we're in hibernation. But without that, we must err on the side of extreme caution.
Then, we should focus on returning to Lib.
Possibly. The main issue is the lifespan of that mobile reactor. At current operation, it should last roughly 50 years. If we were to minimize the beacon's output, we could last roughly 500 years. But then I doubt anyone would find us.
I agree. The odds of someone discovering us would be quite low. But what if someone knew to look? If they wouldn't give up on looking?
Captain Rhodes.
Exactly. If we hibernate until 2537...
She will search for us once we fail to return. In fact, if we altered the beacon's message to one she would uniquely recognize...
and time its broadcast to resume when she would start searching...
then we should be easily found, with power to spare. Pausing beacon now. I'll set it to resume shortly after when we would have disappeared. Beacon set. The next time we awaken, it should be due to Captain Rhodes having received our message. Initiate hibernation when you're ready.
Earth has been quarantined. Passage to and from is prohibited until further notice.
Jack, listen.
Message to all colonies. Do not, I repeat, do not attempt passage to Earth. Any and all traveling vessels, avert course to your nearest off-world settlement. All passage to and from Earth is prohibited until further notice.
It's a distress call from Earth.
And not the only one. I'm intercepting countless transmissions from ships disobeying orders. Fleeing Earth.
The infection is spreading.
Indeed. The outbreak is already well underway. We should conserve energy, Jack. Reinitiate hibernation when you're ready.
Apollo, what is happening?
We're passing through a debris cloud. It is mostly comprised of small particulates of rock and ice. But sensors indicate a denser cluster on collision course.
How long before it reaches our position?
We have approximately 20 seconds before impact. However, the trajectory places the affected area outside our immediate position. We will experience some impact tremors, but this bay should provide adequate protection.
Impact imminent. Collision event. 3, 2, 1.
Tremors subsiding. Minimal damage to the activation bay.
You were saying?
The impact appears to have destroyed the mobile reactor.
We still have 200 years before we reach Lib and Harlan. How long will our remaining power sustain us?
My revised estimate gives us about a decade before full power loss, even in your system's suspended state. Our only option now is to initiate a complete shutdown, to leave all remaining power for the beacon when it restarts in Harlan's time.
Is there no other way to provide sufficient power?
Negative. With the reactor destroyed, I believe this is our only option. But as long as the distress call reaches the Doctor and Captain, they can retrieve this shell and transfer your preserved memory core. Good luck, Jack. Disabling all non-essential subsystems. Goodbye.
Apollo.
Initialize neural matrix transfer. Verify hardware connection. Okay. Mapping core protocols to target.
How much longer?
The transfer should go much faster now that we've finally isolated his core protocols.
Atlas Intelligence Systems. Artificial neural matrix version 11.312. Initialize boot sequence.
Shit. I think he's waking up. Jack?
It worked. I did it.
Well, you certainly did something.
The scan data, did you?
Yeah, we got it.
Dr. Harlan is already in the lab developing a countermeasure.
Been up there for hours now. I think you gave him a lot to unpack. You did good, Jack. Come on out. We'll see how it's going.
The anomaly. It collapsed.
Yes, we suspected as such.
I don't know what happened.
It was us. We fried the FTL. We wanted to give you as much time as we could. But we let it run too hot for too long.
It appears they've already started another test. We'll have to wait until they've finished.
Right. When it happened, you know, when the FTL collapsed, I thought...
You thought we'd failed.
I thought I'd lost you. I was almost okay, you know? With being stuck in this crappy future. So long as it was you and me. But when I saw that FTL burn out, and you didn't come back, just... don't ever do that to me again.
I'll do my best.
Stand by. I'll unseal the door.
Narrowing wavelength 0.37 angstroms. And run the model again.
Affirmative. Stand by.
Dr. Harlan?
Ah, you're here.
Surprisingly, yes.
Well, you've been nothing if not surprising.
Where are we on the cure?
I was right. The data your android retrieved from the past was precisely what we needed to complete the gene sequence. We're running one more test to be sure. But I think we may have a solution.
That was fast.
From where I'm sitting, it's about 4 centuries overdue.
I would think by now we can all agree time is a relative construct.
What's that?
New parameters are set. We're ready to run the next test.
Do it. Give me real-time status on the monitors. This is it.
Treatment successful.
It worked.
It worked.
Just like that.
It's right there on the monitor. Zero metabolic activity. We did it.
Congratulations, Doctor.
We should refrain from celebrating just yet. We still need to determine how the treatment affects human subjects.
You really think there's that big of a risk?
It's possible. We can't know for certain until we conduct a proper test.
Apollo's right. We need to run a human trial. Juno, prep the biobed. I'll feed you the parameters.
Affirmative, Doctor.
What do you think you're doing?
Taking my medicine.
What about Olivia?
Once we're certain the cure works and is safe, then we will administer it to the captain.
In what reality does it make any sense for you to go first?
This isn't a discussion. I have to be the one. Chasing down this cure has been my life's work.
Right. And if something goes wrong, we're going to need your brain to fix it.
Captain Rhodes is right, Doctor. If you die, no one here would be able to carry on your work.
It's got to be me.
Liv, are you sure you want to do this?
Not really, no. But if I don't, I'm dead for sure. So...
Is there no other way to assess the risk?
None that are available to us. I concede this is not the most scientific of methods, but it is the most expedient.
There has to be something we can...
Jack, it's okay. This is the right call.
Juno, retract the emitter array.
Tell me how this is going to work?
We expose the biomass in your system to a low-level energy pulse of a very specific wavelength. Absorbing this energy will effectively terminate the biomass's metabolic processes, causing it to wither and die.
Think of it like a self-destruct command embedded in the biomass's base DNA.
Whoever designed it knew what they were creating and wanted a way to stop it if it ever got out of control.
Is this going to hurt?
If I said yes, would it change your mind?
Okay. Let's do it.
I want to take a moment to triple-check the math before we begin.
Whatever you have to do.
I'll let you know when we are ready. Juno?
Yes, of course.
Jack, give me your hand. It's okay to be scared.
You forget. I'm incapable of being scared.
Could have fooled me. Jack, look at me. This is going to work. Oh God, now don't you start. Go on. It'll be alright.
Captain Rhodes? We're ready if you are.
I'm good. Let's go.
Confirmed. Initiating counterpulse emission Now.
Oh,
Liv,
it's alright. I'm okay.
Vital signs are stable. Metabolic pathways in the infected cells are failing.
It's working.
Oh,
Cellular saturation in 10 seconds.
are you sure you're all right?
yeah. Yeah, I'm good.
5 seconds. 3, 2, 1.
That's it. Shut it down.
Liv, are you all right?
I'll say one thing. I'm never going to complain about those fabricators again. Well, what's the story? Did it work?
Go ahead. Tell her.
Infection cleared.
Oh my god.
All traces of the biomass forms have been neutralized.
Apollo, is it acceptable to celebrate now?
It certainly appears so, yes.
Harlan, thank you.
Yes. Well, good then. So long as we are just floating here, do you mind if we keep walking? Now that we know the counterpass works, we should start working on better ways to administer it.
Harlan?
We'll need both focused and wide dispersion methods.
Dr. Harlan.
Let's draw up some schematics and feed them to the fabricators.
I already have a number of ideas that I think could serve.
Dr. Harlan.
What?
The treatment, Harlan? You still have to undergo the procedure.
Right. Yes, of course.
Juno, can you prep the bed for another dispersion?
It's already done.
Very well.
Would you like Jack to hold your hand as well?
Start the procedure.
Very well. Stand by.
Harlan, are you alright? Juno.
Vitals nominal. Blood pressure slightly elevated, but still within acceptable limits. Heart rate 103 and rising.
Harlan?
Keep going.
Blood pressure spiking.
10 seconds to cellular saturation.
Something's wrong.
5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Shutdown.
Vital stabilizing.
Well, I've had worse experiences. Though at the moment I can't really think of any.
Harlan?
What?
Captain Rhodes?
What is it? What's wrong?
It didn't work. The biomass survived the treatment.
Harlan?
Juno, get me out of here.
I'll reset the biobed. We can try again.
No.
Perhaps the metrics were somehow altered between the two tests.
Juno.
Or maybe some cases simply require more than one cycle before clearing.
Juno, stop.
This isn't right. The treatment should have cleared both of us.
Apollo.
Yes, Doctor?
The biomass sample we were testing earlier, where was it from?
That particular sample was extracted from the wreckage of the Astraea.
So it was the more primitive strain.
That is correct.
I need a specimen from this time period. Something off the station.
I believe there is a sample from the research facility already seated in the cradle.
Rotate the sample into position.
Affirmative.
Alright, run the test again. Same parameters as before.
Understood. Ready to execute.
Do it.
It's working. The sample is withering.
Wait.
treatment ineffective.
Yeah, you don't say.
The biomass from this time period must have developed some form of inherent resistance to the treatment.
That would be my conclusion as well. The treatment eliminates the biomass from the past, but any form from this time period, it will only paralyze. Though at the moment, I can only speculate as to why this might be the case.
It's because it evolved. The biomass in the Astraea is still developing, still vulnerable. But the strain from this time period has been running rampant for 4 centuries. Nora was right. There really is no stopping it.
The biomass really evolves that quickly.
That's practically its defining characteristic.
Well, that and its tendency to indiscriminately devour everything it touches.
So that's it. We failed.
No. We didn't fail.
Harlan?
Does he want us to follow him?
I have no idea. But I'm going to. Harlan?
We didn't fail. We just learned something new. We learned there's a window, a certain point in time wherein the biomass was still vulnerable, when it could be stopped.
Yeah, that point's long past.
You're right. If only we had some way to travel back in time.
Transmitting Jack's protocols back in time won't help us here, Doctor.
It's also impossible without a working FTL.
For that plan to work, Jack would have to physically bring a counterpulse device back with him. Something he can't do digitally.
I'm not talking about digital time travel.
Oh, I see.
Where have I seen this before?
I believe that is one of the Astraea's FTL drives. I recall seeing a number of them while retrieving the fuel cell from the wreckage.
What do you think, Apollo? Could it work?
I'll need to run some models, but it's possible.
What the hell are you two on about?
I'll explain everything once Jack and I are on our way to the Astraea.
We'd best get moving.
Hold on! No one's going anywhere until one of you gives me something resembling an explanation.
Captain Kronos.
No, if you want to send Jack back out to that plague-infested garbage scow, you have to at least give a reason.
And we will. But the longer we wait, the less chance we have to succeed. Captain, I know I've already asked far too much of you both, but I have taken this as far as it can go. I need your help to finish it.
What do you need us to do?
Jack, you and I will make our way back to the Astraea's drive bay. You'll need my assistance to unlock the FTL housing. Captain Rhodes, if you would remain here with Dr. Harlan, there's some specialized equipment you'll need to fabricate and assemble.
Oh, brilliant.
Opening airlock.
Jack, good luck. Let us know when you've reached the Astraea.
Copy that.
Airlock cycling. Stand by.
Watch yourself over there, Jack. Don't let those ticks give you too much hassle.
I'm sure I'll be fine.
Yeah, I know. Just like reminding you to be careful. So, be careful. And before you ask, yes. That's an order.
Exiting portside airlock.
We need to make our way back to the Astraea, to the auxiliary drive bay.
All right, Apollo, you're on your way. I'm waiting for my explanation.
We all agree simply transmitting Jack's consciousness into the past won't work this time. However, if we were to appropriate one of the Astraea's remaining FTL drives, the Doctor and I believe we may be able to use it to return both you and Jack to the 22nd century.
You're saying we might be able to go home?
I'm reticent to make any assurances, but yes, I believe it is possible, assuming at least one of the drives is still operational.
I thought you said we couldn't access the drives because of all the biomass.
That was before we had the counterpulse.
Well, that's great, but do you have some way for Jack to administer it?
Jack, make your way to the nearest fabricator. I have a new modification for your shell.
Understood.
The fabricator is just to the left of the bridge entrance.
Integration successful. Your new counterpulse device is ready to be equipped.
I expect you'll find it quite an effective tool for combating the biomass.
It's a weapon?
A focused counterpulse emitter, based on a design from my own timeline and calibrated to the same wavelength as the treatment we administered via the medical pod.
Cure gun. Nice.
Understand, this device will only eliminate the older, more primitive biomass. The more evolved forms from this time period will just be temporarily incapacitated.
Regardless, it should make short work of the biomass surrounding the Astraea's FTL drives. It's possible with more research data we could refine the treatment wavelength even further, making the device that much more efficient.
Which would allow the emitter to discharge more shots before overheating.
Certainly fixed you right up, didn't we?
We're ready to proceed to the drive bay. In the meantime, Captain Rhodes, I will need you to assemble a custom gantry to secure the FTL once it's in our possession. I've already fed the necessary specifications to the fabricators.
Good. I'm in the mood for a bit of work.
Moving out into the debris field now.
Just get that FTL and get back here quick as you can. No sense spending more time over there than you need to.
Agreed.
Alright, let's assume this works. Let's say you two track down a working FTL. We get it hooked up and Apollo manages to recreate a physical time jump that, by some miracle, sends us back home to our own time. How exactly are we supposed to eliminate all the biomass once we're there? I mean, it's not like we can just set off a bomb and blow it all to smithereens. That's exactly what you're planning to do, isn't it?
Well, not a bomb so much as a device that will unleash a sudden and forcible burst of energy across a widespread area.
So, a bomb?
Yes, a bomb. But one that emits a counterpulse that should only be harmful to the biomass.
Brilliant.
I am a tactical AI. Most of my solutions tend to involve some form of explosion.
Uh-huh.
I think we should trust Apollo. After all, he has yet to steer us wrong.
How did we end up in the future again?
That was an accident. And considering the alternative was dying in a torrent of fire, I stand by my actions.
Alright, fair enough. But who's gonna build this cure bomb of yours? I mean, I could do it, but my hands are a bit tied at the moment.
I can easily repurpose existing equipment to construct a counterpulse dispersion catalyst.
Cure bomb.
Very well. Cure bomb. We will also need a means of transport, ideally one that can regulate the catalyst's energy signature.
The cargo drones should be more than capable of assembling the materials we need.
Excellent. I will transmit the details.
Well, wait a second. How is Jack's reboot ability supposed to work in the past without the fabricator network?
My design for our makeshift transport includes a single fabricator to accommodate Jack's reboot for the duration of our mission. Once we've detonated the catalyst and are out of danger, we can address reintegrating Jack's protocols into an Atlas network.
Assuming all this goes to plan.
Well, yes. It would be rather difficult to operate on the opposite assumption.
If even one tick begins feeding on these radiation dampeners, they lose power.
More opportunities for you to field test that new counterpulse emitter.
Shields at 50%. Shields at 95%. Shields at 95%. Shields at 95%.
I've reached the drive bay.
How's it looking there?
More or less how we expected.
That bad, is it?
Jack, the removal process will require access to several mechanisms throughout the drive bay. Any live ticks in the area will undoubtedly make our job that much more difficult.
Understood. I'll clear them out.
Our aim is to locate a viable FTL drive. We need one that is suitably infected with biomass, but not to the extent that it is overrun.
The Goldilocks FTL.
An accurate, if somewhat antiquated metaphor. Once we find a suitable drive, we'll need to remove it from its housing and extract it via the corresponding service port. The removal process is no easy task, but I can walk you through the procedure.
All clear, Apollo.
Acknowledged. Now then, we should start by identifying any FTLs that are still extractable. Look for drives whose locking pins are largely clear of biomass at the upper and lower extremities.
Understood. I'll see if there's a drive that's clear enough to move.
Anyone able to cross their fingers, do it now.
Some biomass is present, but not enough to impede the locking pins. Now to inspect the opposite end. The locking pins on this end also appear to be free of any obstruction.
Confirmed. Cursory inspection verified. Internal biomass growth is also suitable for our needs.
Is that our winner?
It certainly appears so.
So we get to go.
Nearly. The FTL will first need to be primed, which requires filling the drive with an ionized fluid and stimulating a hybrid voltaic reaction.
Is that as dodgy as it sounds?
Priming the drive is a fairly standard procedure. Moving a drive after it's been primed is most certainly not.
How do we start the procedure?
The drive controls are offline. You'll need to initiate the process manually. Look for an access panel on the side of the FTL drive.
Access panel located.
You'll have to cut your way in. Pull the lever inside and the drive will begin priming. Once the injection process is complete, I will funnel all remaining power in the drive bay to the FTL.
Drive priming initiated.
Injection complete. I will now attempt to create a sustained reaction by applying any remaining power. Stand by. Sustained reaction achieved. We're ready to remove the drive.
Outstanding.
What's next, Apollo?
The FTL drive is held in place by locking mechanisms at its upper and lower extremities. They must be manually released before the drive can be removed.
Got it. I'll release the locks.
The release mechanisms are housed within the drive moorings at both the top and bottom of the chamber. You'll need to cut your way in.
Understood. The drive's locking mechanism is inside this housing?
Correct. You'll need to cut through to open the cover.
I've gained access to the drive locking mechanisms.
The release control is located on the drive itself, between the locking pins.
Upper locking mechanism released.
Good. Once you release the lower lock, the drive should come free.
This terminal controls the drive?
Yes. Eventually, the terminal will allow you to move the drive along its service channel. For now, however, there is still the matter of unlocking the drive.
Drive unlocked.
Excellent. I've repowered a nearby control panel so you can complete the removal procedure. The controls will allow you to position the drive so it can be easily removed via cargo drone.
Moving FTL into position.
Steady on there, Jack. That's our ride home.
Once the drive reaches the outer wall, you can open the... Jack, be advised. Ticks inbound.
Stand by. I'll deal with them.
They must have been drawn out by the drive's substantial energy signature.
Tick threat neutralized. Resuming removal process at the control terminal.
Once the drive reaches the outer wall, you can open the service port to make the drive available for retrieval.
The drive is in position. How do I open the service port?
Multi-operator release controls on either side of the hatch.
Removal process complete. The FTL drive is ready to be extracted.
Good work, Jack. Drones are on their way.
Copy that.
Ready to depart with the cargo in T-10 seconds. If you plan to accompany the drive, I suggest you take hold now. Departing in 3, 2, 1. Thrusters engaged.
I'm exiting the drive bay.
Give the Astraea a wave as you go. Suppose this is the last we'll be seeing of her.
I'm afraid that's not entirely accurate. To ensure we eliminate all the biomass in the past, we will need to generate a counterpulse substantial enough to blanket the entire Kronos 2 orbital sector. To do so, we will have to venture into the remains of the Astraea that were left behind in 2126, and use the ship's primary drive exchange conduit to amplify the output of the... Cure bomb.
Kinda grows on you, doesn't it?
Not unlike a biomass infestation.
So, where am I in all this?
I will need you to accompany us into the wreckage. As acting captain of the Astraea, your authorization is required to access the primary drive bay.
Right. Well, I've nearly finished rigging up the gantry. Should be good to go by the time the drones turn up with the FTL. I'll see you back here shortly.
Acknowledged.
Jack, I should tell you, if our plan succeeds, it is unlikely you will be able to return to this timeline. If there are any outstanding tasks you'd like to finish, now might be the opportune time.
Understood.
What? I secured it. It's fine. Don't get cheeky with me. Alright, Doc. The gantry's rigged up. I think we're all set here.
Jack, I want to remind you again. Once we start this process, we are effectively locked in. Your shell will be exclusively paired to the Fabricator on the rear of the transport rig. If you exceed its range, you will be forced to reboot. If you have any remaining tasks you'd like to address, this is your final opportunity.
Yes, I believe I could use a little more time. There's still more of the station I'd like to investigate.
Certainly. In the meantime, we will continue our preparations.
Just come let us know when you're all squared.
Yes?
The fuel cell will now act as a catalytic chamber for the cure bomb?
Correct. It will serve as the impetus of a cascading reaction across the Astraea's entire primary drive exchange conduit. The effective kill radius should span well beyond the Saturn orbital zone. For the biomass, that is.
Glad you're on our side, Apollo.
I have been preparing for the biomass's ultimate defeat since my first encounter with it. It is good to finally have a plan worth implementing.
This will transport not only the cure bomb, but also the captain and myself?
Correct. It won't be particularly fast,
Or comfortable.
but it should be safe. Still, Captain, for posterity, you'll want to stay clear of the thrusters. Though your suit should be more than capable.
Don't worry, Juno. I'll only cozy up to a thruster if I start to get chilly.
Facetiousness aside, I doubt that will be an issue. Our intended date of arrival corresponds with the Astraea's wreckage still burning through a sustained plasma reaction. Radiation levels will be quite high. The transport's dampener, however, will...
When did you two become a pair of doting parents? I get it, though. I'll be careful.
Thank you.
All right, I'm ready. Let's begin.
You heard him. Let's get to work.
Very well. Moving FTL into position. Everyone, keep clear.
Will do. Clamps are set. Bring her in.
How are you feeling?
Better, actually. It's weird. I didn't notice how much the infection was affecting me until I was rid of it.
Imagine if the disease had had time to progress.
I'd really rather not, thanks.
Drive secured.
Confirmed. Connection established. The FTL is now linked to the station's power grid.
Reading vigorous biomass activity within the drive. The infection is feeding off the FTL's energy field.
I assume that's good.
It's expected. Begin diagnostic and compatibility check. Verify functionality of all drive components. This should only take a moment.
No problem. We'll just sit here in nervous anticipation.
Very well.
You're concerned?
About having every molecule in my body yanked across all space and time. I'm a little nervous, yeah.
The odds of success are surprisingly favorable, especially when one considers all the variables at play.
Suppose we can work with that.
Diagnostic and compatibility check complete. Stand by while I reconfigure the FTL's drive settings to mirror the exact conditions that first sent the Astraea back in time.
Dr. Harlan?
Yes, we have to get clear of the platform. I know.
Well, I guess this is it.
So it would seem. Captain, I want to say I'm sorry. I was wrong to keep you in the dark as long as I did. Perhaps if I trusted you sooner. In any case, I hope you can forgive me, though I don't expect you to. Right. Well, goodbye.
Dr. Harlan, thank you. What you're doing here, she'd be proud of you.
She'd be angry with me.
Oh, yeah, probably. But she'd still be proud.
Thank you. both of you, for helping me put an end to this.
Doctor, we should really be going.
Yes. All right.
Good luck, Doctor.
To all of us.
FTL settings configured. As soon as the doctor is clear, we can begin spinning up the drive.
Farewell, Captain Rhodes.
Take care of him, Juno.
Of course, always. Goodbye, Jack. I will make sure to permanently archive all of the time we have spent together.
Thanks, Juno.
You're welcome. Good luck saving your timeline.
Popcorn? Alright, it's okay. Well, what do you say, Jack? You ready for this?
I am if you are.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Apollo, we are clear.
Very well. Commencing final jump prep.
Listen. I realized I never properly thanked you. For, well, everything.
You'd have done the same for me.
Hibernating for 4 centuries might have been a bit tricky for me to pull off.
You'd have found a way.
FTL spin-up complete. Drive reports green.
Remember, you need to trigger the device before the Ithaca reaches the infected zone. That should be enough to alter the course of events. Prevent the biomass from spreading.
Understood.
We'll get it done.
Transferring manual control to transport. Ready to execute jump.
Godspeed. To you both.
All right, Jack.
FTL engaged.
See you in a tick.
Jumping in 3,